Hello students, welcome to the class after the summer break. Hope you are healthy and safe. Now as we are back and as we are going to resume our classes, before that we are carrying on revision session and we are also going to take your class test. This revision is not only going to help you out in the class test, but is also going to help you out in the upcoming quarterly examination, which is going to commence from 22nd of July. So let's revise the chapter. First, we are going to revise the first chapter of our literature book, First Flight, and this is A Letter to God. It's written by G.L. Fluence, and G.L. Fluence was a Mexican novelist, poet, and journalist. Let's move on and discuss the main characters of the chapter first. As you remember, the main characters of our chapter are Lencho and the postmaster. Let's discuss the character traits of Lencho first. We know that he was a very simple, hard-working farmer. He worked very hard in his land and he wanted a very nice yield. Worked as an ox in his field. As an ox means he was very hardworking and he was very optimistic. We have seen in this chapter that even when his his crops were completely destroyed by the hailstorm, he was very optimistic. He had a lot of faith in God, had belief in God, immense belief, unfathomable belief in God that is rarely seen, that God would help him. So in need, he really thought that God is surely going to help him out, even though human beings may not. This is a contradiction here. An innocent atheist. He is an innocent man, a truthful man, and he believes in God. He had robust faith in God, and we have already seen that he has a lot of faith in God. Sought solution of his problem from God only. He did not believe on human beings, he believed on God. And the belief was so immense that he actually wrote a letter to God. And this is the reference of this chapter. Postmaster, he is our another main character. There are many other hidden characters also. There are many sub characters also, but the most important ones are these two. If we come to the postmaster, he is a fat and amiable, a very friendly fellow he is. Also, he is a sensible human being. He understands the problems of others. He is immensely surprised at the faith of Lencho in God. This is what we have seen, that he was so impressed that he became ready to help at the faith of Lencho in God. He wanted his faith not to be shaken. And the main reason behind his charity was that he doesn't want his faith that was so rarely found to be shaken. He was very generous, he was very kind, he was benevolent, and he felt really happy and satisfied after he helped Lencho. So we know that we see here that he is a very empathetic fellow. He can understand the problems of others. So these are the two main characters. Now we come on to a short introduction of the chapter. Now this story revolves around the idea of having unquestionable belief in something. We know that faith can move mountains. Some people may have faith on human beings, some may have faith on parents, some may have faith on power, on money, or any other thing. But this faith in God is also one of the faiths that human beings practice. But this faith displayed by Lencho is immense. It's robust, it's unquestionable. He's going beyond our limits, that he is actually conversing or communicating with God by writing a letter to him. The story is actually set in a Latin American country. That is what we have seen, because we are talking the money or the currency of this country in terms of pesos. Lencho, the farmer who is the main protagonist of the story or the protagonist, writes a letter to God seeking help from the Almighty. And when we have seen that the hailstorms had destroyed his crop, he writes a letter to God after discovering that his entire crop or yield was destroyed by a devastating hailstorm. Although his wishes get fulfilled partially. How we are saying that? Do you remember how his wishes were fulfilled partially? He had asked for 100 pesos and he received 70 pesos. So at least partially his wish was fulfilled, and it was not directly the God who helped him, but in a way God's angel, or we can say the postmaster, actually helped him by collecting the money. He is ungrateful in the end. Now, this is again something, he is not grateful here towards the people, because he feels God can never ever deny the sum of money that he has promised or he has asked for. And that is the reason, because of immense faith in God, his faith in human beings has shaken. That God cannot give him the money, any less amount of money that I would have asked for. Obviously, 100 pesos would obviously have been 100 pesos. Questions the honesty and modesty of the postmaster and his colleagues. They have helped him so anonymously without even naming themselves. Just in the name of God, they have helped. But the end is a little contrasting or unexpected. We can call it that there is a situational irony here, that we could have expected that, he could have been highly grateful to these people or whosoever it is, but no, he was very angry and he called them a bunch of crooks. Let us see a few notes step by step how the chapter proceeds. Okay, the first part we can take as turning of Lencho's hope into despair. We know that he was very well prepared with the fields, and to have a very good harvest he was just waiting for some rainfall. So Lencho, a farmer, hoped to get good rain to have good crop. Obviously good rain is always a promise for good crop. It rains, but the rain soon changes into hailstorm. He welcomes the rain. He even compares the rain with the silver coins, because they are very shiny, they are very white. But unfortunately, the rain changes into hailstorm. Hailstorm is accompanied by the rain. His whole crop is destroyed, completely destroyed, so much so that there is not a single leaf on the plants. And the hailstorm is also compared here, that how much the destruction has occurred, that the complete destruction of the crop has been compared with the plague of locust. That the plague of locust might have left some leaves, a few leaves, or some crop maybe, but hailstorm has not left a single leaf on the plants, and the crop is completely destroyed, leaving a bleak future for him. The damage posed really a question for the survival of the family. Farmers, we know, are completely dependent on the crops, and if they are destroyed, it is very difficult to survive during this time, especially till the next harvest comes. So it is very difficult to survive without money. However, great we may say, but we cannot live without money. So now he has to depend on, and he has to ask for somebody for money. What is his condition now? So next part, Lencho's firm belief in God. Now we know that the family is completely devastated. They are in despair and hopelessness. But there is one thing that is still surviving in them, and I think this is a very important feature, a very important trait that should be in people, and that is hope, or we can say belief. Either you hope that something would become better, or you have a belief in God, or you should be optimistic. This quality is very important for you to endure during the tough times. But Lencho had immense faith in God, and that is the best thing. We know already that he has been compared here with an ox because he is a very hard-working person, though he's a very robust person. But the good thing here is that he knows how to read and write. So he knows this, and that is why that is the only way that he is able to write a letter to God. So he decides he is going to ask some money from God. And how would he communicate? He would write a letter to him. Though not knowing the address, he just posts this in the post office. The next part, letter to God. Now he is actually writing a letter to God. He writes a letter, and what he's actually asking, from this time till the next harvest, it is still a long time, and he requires some money. A sum of 100 pesos would be enough to make the ends meet. So he has asked for 100 pesos in the letter. Pesos is actually the currency, the Latin American country's currency. The postmaster and other employees gave a hearty laugh. Obviously, if anybody, you happen to see somebody writing a letter to God, you would laugh at him. We never text God, we never email God, we never make a phone call to him ever, because we don't know whether he is actually present somewhere. This is our belief, he is living in the heaven. Still, we have not still started writing a letter to heaven, because heaven is a belief, but we have actually not found a place where heaven is. But here he has actually written a letter, and the post office employees as well as the postmaster, all of them are really, at the first gesture or the first reaction is that they started laughing at this act. It may be called insanity, it may be called weird, it may be called something very unnatural and unusual. But just after a few moments, the postmaster, who was, as we have already seen, a very empathetic, kind, benevolent person, he suddenly became very impressed with Lencho, that how great is the faith that he has written a letter to God. And he really wanted this faith to remain intact forever. And that is why he offered himself, he volunteered himself to help. And he decided to collect the money, and he would now give this money in the name of God to Lencho. But does he actually have this sum of money? He doesn't. How would he collect it? If you remember, he has given a part of his own salary, as well as he has asked from his colleagues and other friends, and together they have all collected the money. So let us see the second part, the next volunteered to collect this money. He decides to help him but do not have enough money. We know this. He contributes from his salary and also collects money from his colleagues and friends. So in this way, he could together make 70 pesos. Still, they are a little short of 100 pesos. but at least this is a sum of money that is going to help him out. So they became ready to give him 70 pesos. Now let us see the reaction of Lencho. He has asked for 100 and he has received 70. What is the reaction? If you remember, yes, Lencho's reaction. Lencho gets angry. Now, he really gets annoyed as he had asked for 100 pesos and he has just got 70. He has no doubt over God. He is not suspicious over God. Now, who can be the mediators who between him and God? This is the postal department. So he is really annoyed of them that they have somewhere been crooks and they have stolen the money. They have cheated on him and they have taken the 30 pesos from the total sum of money. So he was totally annoyed here. Then, okay. So next we are going to see Lencho's reaction. Now, what did he call the post master as well as the post office employees? He called them a bunch of crooks. Why? Lencho's suspicion. So let us see, our chapter ends here leaving us in a kind of doubt or suspicion that this man who had actually asked for 100 pesos, now Lencho is asking the remaining sum of money, that is 30 pesos, from the god. So only this amount is to be given. But how? He has advised God in his second letter that you should again send me the remaining amount of money, but not through the postal department. Find any other way to send the money. Now also, this chapter leaves us thinking that on one hand, Lencho is a firm believer in God, but on the other hand, he has no trust in human beings. How is it possible? Sometimes human beings may not be found real. There it may happen that God may be the most trustworthy person. He is the most perfect one. He is the most truthful one and the most honest one. He is flawless. And that is why sometimes the poor, the needy, and people who are in difficulties or they are sailing through tough times would always remember and would depend on God rather than any other human being. Now, all other human beings have never ever helped the people in need or the poor people. And this is the reason why they have actually lost the trust of people. And that is why I think Lencho has in this chapter written a letter to God only and not to any other friend or acquaintance of his. So this is how we see that somebody who has a lot of faith in God, but contrasting to that, he doesn't have enough faith in human beings. He only writes a letter to God, and because of the same belief, he has doubt on human beings. I hope you would have understood the chapter well as we have revised it once. And now remember, I am also going to upload your test. One test has already been taken. One more test of this chapter will be uploaded today. So I want all of you to join the Google Classroom and take the test very faithfully and honestly. Thank you. And now, in the next session, I will take up the next chapter, that is the triumph of surgery from the literature book. Thank you and keep learning.